Ladies and gentlemen, since the recent Epstein files were released, the online world is in complete meltdown. We have an A-list celebrity in Nicki Minaj exposing everything. She is letting the world know exactly what it is. And what she said is extremely interesting. But not only that, ladies and gentlemen, we recently had our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, come out and encourage Andrew to snitch and to tell the authorities everything he knows. Alongside that, we've got Bill Gates reacting to the accusations that were made against him in the files. Let's listen to this.
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
Hold on. It had nothing to do with that kind of behavior, but we have emails where a dialogue is being built over antibiotics. Catching an STI from a Russian bird, and then allegedly needing some form of drug for your wife because you feel your wife might have the same STI. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what we heard in the emails, right?
Yeah, I met Jeffrey in 2011. The focus was always, he knew a lot of very rich people, and he was saying he could get them.
Yeah, you're lying. The focus was he always knew a lot of rich people, and then he could get them, grab these glasses because he needed to think. You're lying.
To give money to global health. In retrospect, that was a dead end, and I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
Honestly, I don't believe a word he said there. And Nicki Minaj isn't having a bar of it. She is telling the world exactly what it is. For those that don't know who Nicki Minaj is, in my opinion, Nicki Minaj is the biggest female rapper to ever exist. And the numbers don't lie. The fan base speaks for itself. However, she recently come under scrutiny due to her controversial support for Donald Trump.
Hello. Well, I don't know what to say, but I will say that
Nicki Minaj comes across extremely nervous. And I'm surprised because this is someone that performs to thousands of people on stage. And she's coming across extremely nervous, and she starts off by saying, I don't know what to say, and then says,
I am probably the president's #1 fan.
And the way she says that is like she's being held hostage, that she's got a gun to her head. I can't even lie.
And that's not going to change. And the hate or what people have to say, it does not affect me at all. It actually motivates me to support him more. And it's gonna motivate all of us to support him more. We're not going to let them get away with bullying him and, the smear campaigns. It's not going to work, okay? He has a lot of force behind him, and God is protecting him. Amen.
That would have been the moment right there, ladies and gentlemen, where Nicki Minaj would have received a lot of backlash for her support for Donald Trump. After that statement, ladies and gentlemen, she lost over 10 million followers. I'm pretty sure it was around 10 million. It was around that type of number. It was a crazy number of followers that just said, you know what, f this girl, I'm unfollowing. But the backlash was immense, and people said what they said online. That energy was then transmitted to the Grammys.
Grammy that every artist wants, almost as much as Trump wants Greenland, which makes sense. I mean, because Epstein's island is gone, he needs a new one to hang out with Bill Clinton. So, I told you it's my last year. What are you gonna do about it?
Oh, wow. I told you it's my last year. What are you gonna do about it? So man's just throwing everyone under the bus. He's doing a Ricky Gervais. Not only did he throw digs at Donald Trump, but he also threw digs at Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here.
Putting all the thumbs up as well, because obviously Nicki Minaj has been calling this girl out.
She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues. Actually, Nicki, I have the biggest ass. I have it. Everybody's saying it, Nicki. I know they say it's you, but it's me. Wop, wop, wop. Look at it. Look at it, baby.
Although she's called out Jay-Z and Beyonce, there was one dig for Trevor Noah. And that dig was, the whole industry know that you've got a boyfriend. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it gets extremely interesting, because off the back of that Grammy Award show, Nicki took to her X account and she had this to say. This is where it starts. On February the 2nd, ladies and gentlemen, Nicki Minaj took to X and she said this: "Are y'all understanding that these type of people have been sacrificing as a way of gaining and maintaining power? If you ever vote Democrat again, you're just as soulless as they are and will perish. Maybe it's time for me to do some story times. Since I was trying to not say what I know, yet they continue to attempt bullying." Now, we don't know who they are at this moment in time. We can only assume she is talking about the faces we can see on the screen. And one of these faces are blatantly in the Epstein files. Now, the whole Jay-Z being involved in the files is extremely interesting, because it says the incident that he was involved in with Harvey Weinstein took place in 1996. See, a lot of people jumped up and said, 1996, nah, Jay-Z wasn't even really that famous in 1996. Well, just to let you know, that would have been the year of his debut album, Reasonable Doubt. And then within a space of 12 to 24 months, Jay-Z actually became one of the biggest rappers in the United States. By 1998, within 24 months, he's got that tune, It's a Hard Knock Life, but us. It's a hard knock life. Why am I singing that song for? Bruv, shut that in the bin. You gotta think that timeline is a very small timeline, ladies and gentlemen, and it all happened within that 24 months.
In your thoughts on Donald Trump and what it means for mass incarceration?
You know what? This is a labor of love for Jay, and as a result,
I was sitting there the other day trying to understand how these two people would be in a room together in 1996 doing whatever they're doing to whoever they're doing it to. Absolutely disgusting. But here we have them in 2017 together, and Jay-Z is looking so shook after being asked about Donald Trump. He is nervous, and he experienced one of the ringleaders. Let's be totally honest now. The position that Harvey found himself in, director, producer, screenwriter, all of these different titles that he had, putting all of these big boy films together, he was one of the ringleaders. Reason why he's jumping in right now to protect Jay-Z. And Jay-Z's body language tells you all you need to know, ladies and gentlemen.
What it means for mass incarceration.
You know what? This is a labor of love for Jay, and as a result, he's my friend. We're here to talk about that and nothing else.
The next message from Nicki Minaj was this one: "Your favorite artist has been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take from other countries and mutilate and kill them as a form of a blood sacrifice to their god. You see, when your master is Satan, you must constantly shed blood. However, the jig is up." She ain't caring at this moment in time, ladies and gentlemen, and who better to know than Nicki Minaj? Someone that's been involved in the industry for close to 20 years, even longer than 20 years. Her break was with Cash Money Records when Lil Wayne signed her back in 2008. Since then, she has flew to the moon and she's never came back. She's in a different stratosphere when it comes to this music thing. But not only that, she's had a wealth of experience in the industry that's allowed her to gain knowledge and wisdom and led her to understand what really takes place behind closed doors. And it's not only Nicki Minaj, ladies and gentlemen. We know Kanye West has been another rapper that has been exposing the elites. In fact, I've got a clip that I want to share with you from 2009 that's going to hit home harder than ever before. Now, this is the video that I wanted to show you, ladies and gentlemen, in regards to Kanye West. This is a music video he released in 2009. Now, we're not going to play it for copyright reasons, but I want you to watch the videos, right? They're being dragged down these hallways. But look at this lady here, dragging her down this hallway, and the little girl's like, "No, I don't want to go, please." They get to their destination, ladies and gentlemen, and guess what Kanye West shows us at the destination? 2009. See, the only slight contradiction you're gonna have here, ladies and gentlemen, is only a few years ago, you would have seen Kanye West hanging out with Donald Trump. But back to what Nicki Minaj is saying here. She goes on to say, "They sabotaged my documentary because I spoke about the abuse that I suffered. They've been trying to stall all my projects in hope I lose a bunch of money and beg for them to help. Their leaders still think it's a joke. The destruction that's about to come down on them isn't funny. I told y'all to leave me alone." Now you'll understand why you should have just sat there and taken your meds. Woo! Nicki Minaj isn't playing. She then goes to post this picture of Jay-Z and Aaliyah. And for those that don't know, this picture was taken when Aaliyah was around 15, 16 years old and Jay-Z was about 27. Now we remember what Jaguar Wright said. Jaguar Wright was the first person to call this out. In fact, Jaguar Wright went onto the Piers Morgan show only last year and let her voice be heard.
I have my own tapes. I've seen what they do. The ritualistic behaviors, the drugging, putting girls in the suitcases, dumping them in alleyways. It's horrifying.
What's even more extremely weird, off the back of Jaguar Wright saying whatever he said on the Piers Morgan show, they decided to target Piers Morgan instead of Jaguar Wright. They made Piers Morgan say sorry.
There are legal limits on us too. And we apologise to Jay-Z and Beyonce.
They made Piers Morgan go live on a show called Uncensored and they censored him. But they left Jaguar Wright. You know, there was no lawsuit, there was no cease and desist, there was no nothing. And here we have, months later, Nicki Minaj doing exactly the same thing. Letting the world know that what Jay-Z was doing back in the day is exactly what we call pedophilia. And it's no coincidence because within a short space of time, ladies and gentlemen, he's gone from a 15-year-old, 16-year-old to another 16, 17-year-old, Beyonce. Now, Nicki Minaj then went on to put up this picture, ladies and gentlemen, and this is allegedly one of Jay-Z's children. Now, for those that don't know, over the years, children have come forward claiming that Jay-Z is their father. And I believe this is one of the guys. And the mums of these children have also come forward to say, yes, this is the situation that happened between me and Jay-Z back in 1998, 1999, 1987, whatever year it was. They've got the receipts. I mean, what Nicki Minaj said in those comments, ladies and gentlemen, tells us all we need to know.
Jay-Z and Beyonce are having one of the roughest weeks of their career right now, where after it came out they were on the Epstein list, they lost 12 million followers on social media and are also having some of their advertising contracts reviewed. But now, just to make things worse and put the cherry on top, they're being trashed big time by Nicki Minaj, who's really going after Jay-Z, saying he's just as bad as Epstein. The rise of Nicki Minaj, it all started in 2009 when Lil Wayne signed her for the first time, which is really crazy to think about, seeing how she's actually become the bigger artist long-term, selling 130 million albums versus him at 90 million. For the relationship between Nicki Minaj and Jay-Z, that got escalated in 2015 when Jay-Z asked Nicki Minaj to become a very big part of his company Tidal. Tidal was a streaming service that Jay-Z took over and then brought in Kanye West, Madonna, and a bunch of other musicians to be partners in the business, making this claim that it'll be better to musicians, but ended up not really doing so. The sell they were trying to make at the time was they were better for artists because they were offering 1 penny per stream versus Spotify, which averages about 0.7 pennies per stream. But at the end of the day, that wasn't a big enough increase to get artists to move over like how they wanted, and because that Tidal just never was that successful. As a total disaster, where both Kanye West and Nicki Minaj actually ended up slamming Jay-Z, saying they were both owed millions of dollars for promotions they did for the business, as well as doing special streaming releases just for Tidal that they never got the bonuses on. Because of that, Nicki Minaj got really pissed off when Jay-Z decided to sell Tidal to Jack Dorsey, and he made $380 million off of it, but Nicki Minaj was pissed off, saying she was never fully compensated for her work. Still, even after that, Nicki Minaj was mostly silent on her issues with Jay-Z for years because at the end of the day, Jay-Z and Beyonce are two very powerful people in Hollywood, but still, now that power is being put in question because they were just found to be on the Epstein list. And while that doesn't make them automatically guilty, it could just mean they knew Jeffrey Epstein, there is a social pressure being put on them where these two guys just lost 12 million followers on social media, and a lot of people are really calling them out. Also, at the same time, Nicki Minaj is now having this change in her own image where she's made it clear she is a supporter of Donald Trump, and she's actually reflecting a lot of black people that are becoming more and more conservative. Just to explain that, even though Kamala Harris was the second black person ever nominated by a major party, she actually did the worst of any Democrat with black voters in decades, with Donald Trump getting 19% of the black male vote. Still, a lot of Hollywood is not happy with Nicki Minaj right now, and that's why at the Grammys last night, Trevor Noah made some jokes about her that Nicki Minaj definitely did not care for. Because that Nicki Minaj was pretty pissed off, but she didn't actually have any materials to go after Trevor Noah on, so instead she went after Jay-Z, pointing out relationships he had with Layla and Beyonce when they were just teenagers, but he was in his late 20s, and even though there's nothing confirmed anything happened, she's implying a lot of big things did. For Layla especially, that's a really big accusation on Jay-Z because there were a lot of people in her life that abused her, like R. Kelly, who married her when he was 27 and she was 15, and the abuse actually began when she was just 13 and he was 25. And also for many years, a lot of people have accused Jay-Z and Beyonce of having this weird relationship and not telling the public of when they actually started dating, where they met when she was just 16 years old, but they didn't start dating until she was 19. But a lot of people who knew them said there was definitely something going on when she was 16 and he was 27.
I mean, that's an interesting name that hasn't been mentioned. R. Kelly. You can't tell me R. Kelly's not in them files, blood. R. Kelly has to be in them files. That rabbit hole is extremely deep and dark. And you're telling me he's not on the Epstein files? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. There's still more to come off the back of these Epstein files. You don't want to go anywhere. It's just not looking good for Jay-Z and Beyonce at this moment in time. And Nicki Minaj isn't having it. But there is so much more to come, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to go anywhere. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if we're newly watching. Make sure you turn those notification bells on so you don't miss out on future videos. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.